groceries. I am 65 years old, and it has been just over a year since I lost my wife of 30 years.
Saying that sentence still feels unreal.
As if I am talking about someone else's life. For 3 decades, she was not just my wife, she was my home, my constant, my quiet strength. And then one day, she was gone. Not gradually, not gently, but suddenly enough to leave behind a silence so loud it still follows me from room to room. The house changed after her passing. Not physically, everything stayed in the same place, but emotionally. It became unfamiliar. The kitchen clock ticks louder now. The evenings feel longer. Her favorite chair sits empty, holding nothing but memories. Sometimes I catch myself turning to tell her something small and unimportant, like how the weather changed or how I saw a dog that reminded me of one we once had. In those moments, the truth hits me again. She's not there to listen anymore. I still miss her every single day. People often say, time heals everything, but I've learned that time doesn't heal, it teaches. It teaches you how to carry pain without letting it crush you. It teaches you how to wake up even when you don't want to. And most importantly, it teaches you what truly mattered all along. My wife mattered more to me than I ever properly expressed while she was alive. I thought being there every day was enough. I thought love was understood, assumed, permanent. We shared routines, responsibilities, laughter, arguments, and silence. I believed we had unlimited time to say the deeper things. I was wrong. After she passed, regret tried to make a home inside me. Regret for words left unsaid, for hugs not given, for moments when I chose distraction over presence. Those thoughts were heavy, and for months, they pulled me down into a quiet loneliness that felt endless. But grief has a strange way of reshaping a person. In the early days, survival was my only goal. Get out of bed, eat something, make it through the day. Nights were the hardest. The world grows quiet at night, and quiet leaves room for memories. I replayed moments from our life together like scenes from an old film. Our first apartment, our shared dreams, the way she smiled when she thought no one was watching. One night, unable to sleep, I sat alone in the living room and asked myself a question I had avoided for months. What kind of man am I now, without her? That question didn't have an answer right away. It scared me. For so long, my identity was tied to being her husband. Losing her felt like losing a part of myself. But as painful as that realization was, it marked the beginning of something important. I began to understand that grief, as unbearable as it feels, can also be a teacher. I started small. I began walking every morning, not for fitness, but for peace. Those walks became my quiet conversations with myself. I allowed myself to feel everything: sadness, gratitude, anger, love. I stopped running from the pain and started listening to what it was trying to tell me. It was telling me this: love leaves a responsibility behind. If someone mattered that deeply to me, then my life still had meaning because of that love. My pain was proof that something real existed, and that meant my story wasn't over, it had simply changed chapters. I realized something else during those walks. My wife would not want my remaining years to be spent only in mourning. She believed in living fully, even when life was difficult. She believed in kindness, in showing up for others, in making people feel seen. If I truly loved her, then the best way to honor her was to live by the values she lived by. That's when my thinking slowly shifted from what have I lost to what can I still give. This shift didn't erase the pain, but it gave it direction. I began reaching out more to old friends, to neighbors, even to strangers. Simple conversations at the grocery store, a smile, a listening ear. I discovered that many people are quietly carrying their own grief, their own loneliness. When I shared my story, something unexpected happened. It helped them open up too. For the first time since my wife passed, I felt useful again. Self-improvement, I learned, isn't always about becoming stronger or more successful. Sometimes, it's about becoming more human, more present, more compassionate, more aware of how fragile and precious time really is. I stopped postponing things that mattered. I stopped assuming tomorrow was guaranteed. I started saying I appreciate you more often. I started living with intention instead of habit. There are still days when the loneliness returns without warning, days when I miss her voice so much it physically hurts. But those days no longer feel empty, they feel meaningful, because they remind me of the depth of what we shared. Now, at 65, I no longer measure life by years or achievements, I measure it by impact. I can only hope that before I die, I mattered to at least one person the way she mattered to me. That my presence makes someone feel understood, valued, less alone. If I can do that even once, then the love I shared with my wife will continue to live on through me. Learning how to live again after the first year passed, people assumed I was doing better. They saw me smiling more, talking more, moving forward. What they didn't see was how healing isn't a straight line. It comes in waves. Some days are calm. Some days knock the air out of you without warning. I learned that grief doesn't disappear, it changes shape. In the beginning, it was heavy and suffocating. Later, it became quieter, but deeper, less dramatic, more reflective. I no longer cried every day, but I thought about her constantly. Not just about losing her, but about what our life together had meant. About what kind of man I had been and what kind of man I still wanted to become. One morning, while sorting through old photographs, I found a picture of us laughing uncontrollably at something I no longer remembered. Her head was tilted back, eyes closed, completely free in that moment. I stared at the photo for a long time and felt something unexpected. Gratitude. For the first time, the memory didn't only hurt, it warmed me. It reminded me that I had been loved deeply, and that not everyone gets to experience that in a lifetime. That realization changed something inside me. Instead of asking, "Why did I lose her?" I started asking, "What did loving her teach me?" She taught me patience. She taught me how to listen without trying to fix everything. She taught me that strength can be quiet and kindness can be powerful. And slowly, I understood that these lessons weren't meant to die with her. They were meant to live through me. I began to set small intentions for my days, nothing dramatic, just simple promises to myself. Be present, be kind, be honest, don't rush moments that matter. Self-improvement at this stage of life looked different than it did when I was younger. I wasn't chasing success anymore. I was chasing meaning. I volunteered at a local community center once a week. At first, it was just a way to fill time, but I quickly realized how much it filled something deeper. Listening to other people's stories reminded me that pain is universal and so is hope. One man, not much younger than me, told me he felt invisible after retirement. Another spoke about losing his sense of purpose. As they talked, I saw myself in them. And when I shared my own story, I noticed something shift. They leaned in. They listened. They felt less alone. That's when I understood something important. Purpose doesn't always come from what you do. Sometimes it comes from how you show up. I also started writing just for myself at first. Thoughts, memories, lessons. Writing helped me organize the chaos in my head. It gave my emotions somewhere to go. I wrote letters to my wife that I would never send. I told her about my days, my struggles, my small victories. Those letters became a bridge between who I was and who I was becoming. One day, I wrote a question at the top of a page. If I only have a limited number of years left, how do I want to live them? The answer wasn't about travel or possessions. It was about impact, connection, presence. I wanted to be someone who made others feel heard, Someone who didn't waste time on resentment or ego. Someone who loved openly and without hesitation. That answer scared me because living that way requires courage. It means risking vulnerability. It means caring deeply, even when loss is possible. But loss had already taught me the worst could happen and life could still continue. That knowledge made me braver. I began to reach out to family members I had grown distant from. I apologized where I needed to. I forgave where I had held onto old pain. I stopped waiting for the right moment to say meaningful things. I told people they mattered to me. And something remarkable happened. The more I gave, the lighter my grief became. Not because it disappeared, but because it was no longer the only thing living inside me. I also learned to sit with loneliness without letting it define me. Loneliness doesn't mean you are unloved, it means you are human. Instead of fighting it, I acknowledged it, and once I stopped fearing it, it lost some of its power. Healing, I realized, is not about forgetting. It's about integrating loss into who you are without letting it harden you. There are still moments when I wish I could turn back time. Moments when I would give anything just to hear her voice again. But I no longer live stuck in those moments. I live forward with her influence guiding me. At 65, I am still learning, still growing, still becoming. I don't know how many years I have left. None of us do. But I know this, the rest of my life will not be lived on autopilot. It will be lived intentionally. If love taught me anything, it's that the greatest legacy we leave behind is how we make people feel. And I am not done yet. What remains when we are gone as I grow older? The thought of the end no longer scares me the way it once did. Losing my wife changed my relationship with death. It stopped being an abstract idea and became something real, something close. And strangely, that closeness taught me how to value life more deeply. When you reach this stage of life, you stop asking, "What can I get from the world?" You start asking, "What will I leave behind?" I don't mean money or possessions. Those things fade quickly. I mean the invisible things, the memories, the influence, the moments where your presence made a difference. I often think about how my wife will be remembered, not by grand achievements, but by the way she made people feel safe, accepted, and valued. People still mention her kindness, her patience, her ability to listen without judgment. She didn't try to impress the world, she quietly improved it. That is the kind of legacy that lasts. Her absence taught me something important. We don't truly disappear when we die. We live on in the hearts and habits of the people we touched, in the lessons we passed on, in the love we gave freely. That realization reshaped how I live each day. I no longer rush conversations. I no longer treat time as something to kill. Time is something to honor. When I speak with someone now, I give them my full attention. I listen not to reply, but to understand, because I know how rare and valuable that is. If there is one lesson I wish younger people could truly understand, it is this: love loudly, love often, love without waiting. Don't assume people know how much they matter to you. Say it, show it, not tomorrow, today. Life does not give warnings, it does not negotiate, it simply moves forward. I used to think strength meant being independent and self-sufficient. Now I know strength also means being open, letting people see you, letting them matter. At 65, I have learned that the smallest actions often have the biggest impact. A kind word, a moment of patience, a simple act of understanding. These are the things people remember when you're gone. I don't know if I will be remembered by many, and that's okay. I don't need to change the world. I just want to change a world, someone's world, even in a small way. If one person looks back and says, "He made me feel less alone," then my life will have been enough. I talk to my wife sometimes, quietly, in my thoughts. I tell her about the person I'm trying to be. I hope she would be proud, not because I avoided pain, but because I allowed love to shape me even after she was gone. Grief could have closed me off. It could have made me bitter, distant, withdrawn. But I chose a different path, not because it was easier, but because it was more honest. Love doesn't end when someone leaves this world. It transforms. It becomes guidance. It becomes responsibility. And that responsibility is this: to live in a way that honors what we lost by becoming more compassionate, not less. I don't know how much time I have left, but I know how I want to use it. I want to be present. I want to be kind. I want to matter, not through perfection, but through sincerity. One day, I will be gone too, and when that happens, I hope the people who knew me won't remember my mistakes as much as they remember how I treated them. I hope they remember that I listened, that I cared, that I tried, because in the end, that is all any of us really have. I lost my wife of 30 years. I miss her every day. She mattered more to me than I can ever fully express. And because she mattered so deeply, my life still has meaning. Her love didn't end, it became my purpose. And until my final breath, I will live in a way that proves she was here, that we mattered, and that love is stronger than loss.